Today we're going to talk about charts, and this is where you can communicate your data, right? And you can do it graphically. A picture tells 1,000 words, right? It's common for us to get really bogged down in these big data sets, and they're really hard to read. Even summarized data sets are difficult to interpret, to figure out what exactly is going on there. You make a chart and boom, just anybody can read that. They can look at it and they can see it right away, and that's the beauty of a chart. The other thing is that as I'll explain at other points here, is that generally speaking, no one's going to read your stuff, right? Nobody cares. Nobody's going to take the time to check out this data, all this stuff that you've made, this pretty stuff. All they're going to do is read like the executive summary and look at your charts, and that's all people are going to do. That's been my experience, and so your charts have a big impact on the information that you're able to deliver. Today we're going to talk about several different chart types. You can see them here: column, bar, pie, line. We'll talk about XY, and combo. That's all we're going to get to today. A couple of those we won't get to on that there. The first one is a pie chart, okay? And a pie chart, we're talking about making comparison of parts to the whole. And that's the whole idea there. And we've got one series of data, parts compared to the whole 100%. The most common chart is a column chart, and we'll start the demonstration today talking about column charts. And what we do here is this is for comparing things across categories. So we're comparing these things across categories. A bar chart is just a column chart turned on its side, and this can be useful because as human beings, we actually see the differences in these things when they're horizontal like this. We see them better, we see the differences between them better, and also it's also very accommodating if you have really long labels there. The next one we're going to talk about is a line chart, and line charts show trends over time. Right? That's what we'd use those for. So this is always good for stuff like this, where we want to talk about profit or loss over time. Perfect chart for that. All charts are objects, right? So just like we'll talk about in future classes, when we have an Excel object, when we click on that object, that will open up a tab on the ribbon that didn't exist before. It only has to do with that chart, and it'll allow us to do a lot of special things that only have to do with charts. Okay, so that's what we call a contextual tab, meaning that it's in the context of just this single object. So we'll have a chart, we'll click on it, we'll have a whole new tab appear on the ribbon, and we can do all sorts of chart things on that tab. There it is. There's our Charting Tools contextual tab, right? And we've got the design and format within that, and we can do a bunch of design stuff or a bunch of format stuff, obviously. We have 5 parts of a chart. Right? A title defaults up at the top, saying title. We want to use that to describe our chart descriptively. Right? Then we have the data series, right? What is the data that's making up the points on there? Right? We have a vertical or y-axis. We call this the value axis. Like when we looked at our column chart there, or our line chart, we had the dollar amounts on that side, right? So that was the vertical y or value axis. Then we've got our x-axis running down here, okay, horizontal x-axis, and we call that category, the category axis, okay. And before we saw that, we had numbers running down there, or we may have the specific categories that are making up those individual columns in our chart. And then finally we have the legend, and the legend generally sits off to the side, and it tells us what these things are and shows us the color codes and that kind of thing. Finally, to have effective charts, we need to be careful. We want to keep it simple. Right? We want to figure out what it is that we're trying to say with this chart and focus in on that. Right? We want to limit the number of data series. We want to do things like grid lines and colors, or even the format of these charts. We want to be really careful so that everything that we do is designed just to deliver the message that we want to deliver, and that we don't obfuscate it with a bunch of what we call chart junk.